Hello and welcome to my video lecture on the various kinds of text inputs that you can use on your HTML forms. For right now, this is an HTML form that I've previously created. It's using the standard text inputs for first name and last name. It's using an email type to gather the email information. And if I look at that, this is what it looks like in a web browser. If I come back here, I've got a file where I keep some templates for the different kinds of inputs that I can use. Here I'm not using labels, but in a regular form I would. So here's a text template. So this is a regular text box. The name of it's quantity. Here I'm showing the value. The initial value is 1, and how many, I'm using the size attribute to indicate how many characters can be in here. Here I'm setting up a read-only. I threw in a read-only attribute here. The read-only attribute would say that I couldn't edit that. Here's another example of a more typical text input. Here I'm using the autofocus that I can use on my index form. Whenever I would set up the first control, I would usually set up the form to autofocus on that control. So at any time the form is rendered, the focus would be put on this input. There are other types. We have a type that's a password that would mask whatever is being entered in. Here we're also using the placeholder attribute. That here is just going to say enter your password. We see the max length attribute set to 6, so that the password's max length could be 6. So let's grab that. We'll play with that first. We want one break when I'm playing in my real file, so I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go back to my HTML file. I already have a break there. I'm going to copy it in. Here's my text. I want to put labels in for all of my controls. So this I'm going to put in password. Here's my input type, password. It's going to say enter your password. Obviously the max length should be more like 60. These days it's the length of the password, not the complexity of the password, that makes them stronger. So here I'm going to save all. I'm going to go back to my web browser. When I refresh the page, I see my new password text box, and as I start entering, you can see that my password is masked from the users. So then let's go back. Let's do our last text field. Here's a hidden text field. In this case, I'm going to grab the input. I'm going to bring it back, and I'm going to place it right under my last input. I'm going to copy and paste my label. You'll be able to see the label. You won't be able to see the text box. And why would you do this? You would use this if you wanted some kind of data element. Some people call them, it can be used to hold a constant, a value that can't be changed by the user, so that when the form gets submitted, perhaps something like today's date, any kind of constant you might want. And in this case, the value, which would be the constant, would be widget. And when that gets passed, that would be the value that gets passed. So this is going to be an input box that's hidden that you're not going to be able to see. So I'm going to save this. And when I go to my browser and I refresh, you can see that I have my label, but there is no text box. So when that gets sent, using the post method of this data entry form, the display PHP file will be able to see what the value is in the submit string index of the post array, and would be able to use it for whatever it wanted to. So that is the end of my video lecture on the various text type of inputs that you can use on your data entry forms.